Well, I'm Chris DeRosa, longtime resident of Arlington, and I happen to be the leader, I guess, of the Arlington Falls Church chapter of Spread the Vote, Project ID.
And what does Spread the Vote do?
Well, we do lots of different things. We're a 501c3 organization. Almost all of us are volunteers on the ground, and we help people register to vote. We help people to check to see if their rights have been restored. And we also help people get their IDs and the documents they might need to get those IDs.
How did this get started? How did Spread the Vote get started?
Good question. Well, about 2017,
Right.
young attorney named Kat Calvin in California got very upset about finding out that I think it was over 2 million voters could not vote in the elections in 2016 because they had no photo ID. At that time, Virginia was one of the photo ID states as well. So she quit her job, drove cross country, started in Florida, and then later on came up to Virginia. So this would be the summer of 2017.
All right.
And she just kind of had little meetings, informational meetings here and there. And so some of us found out about it and said, yes, we'll help. That's how it got started.
And what kind of impact have you seen in people's lives that you've helped?
Well, it's hard to know, but for many, it makes a major difference. I was kind of had blinders on because I've kind of been brought up fairly middle class all my life, and I have the know-how and the financial funds, to get an ID, get my birth certificate if I need it,
Right.
etc. But then I came to realize that there are a lot of people who don't have that ability. Financially, knowledge-wise, time-wise, transportation-wise, to do that.
And sometimes people that are estranged from their family, and
Many of them are.
and they have difficulty because it's family members that have the documents that they're not willing to share.
That's
And
true.
it goes beyond voting, I think.
Yes.
So much of what we do, so many of how we participate in society, how many benefits that we get, just feeling that some self-respect, you need an ID.
Yeah, one of the things we say is IDs for life.
Right.
You need it for just about everything.
And I can say, having worked at an election, the people that come in, and whether it's because they got their rights restored or because they were able to finally get an ID, the people that are willing to share their story
Really?
are exuberant. It's just
Okay.
it's a very uplifting feeling for them.
So you've seen some
I've seen some
real
of the
enthusiasm.
enthusiasm,
Yeah.
and most of the time, people keep to themselves when they vote. It's their
Right,
vote. It's a
right.
private vote.
It is private.
So it's refreshing to have someone come in who maybe just got their rights restored and is willing to, literally dance in the voting place. So that's very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, we've even helped provide rides to the polls
Right.
on a limited basis. And so to see people actually get to vote, they're thrilled.
Yes.
For many, it's the first time they've been voting.
I
So-
also had an encounter with someone you helped at our shelter in Arlington.
Okay.
Because I was working at the election and she wasn't coming in to vote yet. She was coming over during early voting
Okay.
to, she talked about that you'd helped her, and then she wanted to double check sort of the details.
Okay.
Okay, I have this many days to do it.
Right.
She wanted a copy of the sample ballot where you
Good.
show people who's on the ballot.
Right.
And so she was getting ready. It was obviously something that made a difference to her, and she was putting in the work to
That's
make her
great.
vote count. So,
We should all do that, shouldn't we? Check.
yes,
Look at the ballot.
look at the ballot, be informed, be
Yep.
engaged.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah,
Now-
we did some voter information, get ready to vote sessions too at different places. One was Terwilliger Place, which is affordable housing with
Right.
preference giving to veterans, I think. And we did one at one of the shelters, I forget which one now. But we try to show them the sample ballots,
Right.
tell them where they can go to vote and when, and help them make a plan for voting, like I'm gonna go, how am I gonna get there?
Right.
When am I gonna go? Early voting on election day, where do I have to go?
Right.
And so that's important, I think.
Now, I know you also get engaged a lot with bigger issues, and you're down in Richmond sometimes with our General Assembly. Are there any legislation related to voting either coming up now or maybe in the next couple of years that you feel very strongly should be adopted?
Well, one of the biggest ones that I'm following very closely is a proposed constitutional amendment. It's HJ 2 in the House. I don't remember the Senate version. They have both passed their respective houses. Now they're going to cross over this week. So it's going to go through committees and then back to the floor of the opposite house before it gets approved. Then we have an election in between this coming November. Then the General Assembly has to vote on the same exact amendment, same exact wording, again next in 2026. If it passes, then it will go to the voters in November of 2026.
Right.
So that is, HJ 2 addresses the right to vote. So there's two groups that we're looking at there. One of the biggest ones, the group that I work with, are returning citizens. These are people who have a felony conviction in their past. Right now, the governor is the one person who can make a decision whether that person gets to vote or not.
And that's unique in Virginia.
It's one of
Among
the only
United
states.
One of the states where you're permanently barred from voting
exactly.
unless the governor
Yeah, and it's one
deems you
person.
worthy.
So with the amendment, if it does pass eventually, then your rights to vote, as well as to serve on a jury or be a notary, your civil rights would be restored automatically upon completion of your sentence for that felony conviction. So it'd be automatic. You don't have to beg someone to please give you your rights back. The other group, though, it does address are people who may, for various reasons, come under guardianship.
Right.
They're called mentally incapacitated in the law right now. So if, say, I've worked with some students in my past as a teacher and a tutor who financially maybe could not manage their own finances, so their parents might become their guardian. Right now, automatically, if that happens in a court, the voting rights are suspended for that person.
Right.
They may want to vote. They may understand what's going on with elections. They may understand who's in office, but they have lost their rights. So this would not allow that to happen on an automatic basis. It would have to be specific to that individual, and the judge would have to specifically say, this person does not understand the process of voting, therefore their rights are suspended. So we're trying to fix it for two large groups of people.
And so it would still be, the second group, it would still be a court decision, it would still be a judge's decision, but as you're saying, it would be very specifically relate to voting and not just be a general guardianship incapacitated, no vote, because that doesn't seem to be reasonable or accurate.
That's correct.
There have been a lot of changes in Virginia and in the country.
Yes.
You're obviously still engaged in the public process. What are you hopeful now, these days, about the future of voting, the future of justice in America? All that? Are you hopeful? And if so, what gives you hope?
In Virginia, I'm hopeful.
Yes.
Because I know that there are many, I think it's something like 2/3 of the people in Virginia would approve this constitutional amendment.
Right.
And they approve some of the other bills that have gone before the General Assembly. Nationwide, I'll have to stop and think about it, since things have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more that we have to do, including educating the public, encouraging them to find out more about the candidates, what's going on in government, how it impacts your daily life. I often tell some of the people who are registering to vote that the local elections, local people, like the county board in Arlington, the school board, they're the ones that actually make the laws that impact your everyday life. You know, the roads, the schools, the businesses, the taxes, that type of thing. So you need to find out about them too. And a lot of people don't.
Right. I also think you want to get a sense of them, because even if there are going to be issues that they're not going to vote on, those are the people that down the road move on to state level and federal level offices.
That's true.
And so you want to get a sense that this is someone whose vision for society and the values they share, values that you agree with, and not just somebody who is going to surprise you, when they become a senator and vote some way and you can't figure it out.
Right.
So it is really important to pay attention to the local level.
So, and one of the other issues that I'm working a lot on is ranked choice voting.
Yes.
And Arlington is the pioneer in Virginia using ranked choice voting. We've used it for 2 primary elections and 1 general election now.
And Charlottesville is going to use it in this coming June.
Yes, in their primary.
Their
So
primary, so.
they'll be the second. And there's several jurisdictions looking at it as well.
Right.
So one thing in Arlington, the county board has also already approved using ranked choice voting for all primary elections going forward. We've used it for one general election. There are those of us who are hoping that we will be able to persuade the county board to go ahead and say we will use it for general elections going forward as well.
Right.
So that may be coming up in the next couple months.
All right, that decision, because
Mhm.
it, like anything else related to voting, it's always better and sometimes required that you make the decision well ahead of time.
Yeah.
So the community has a chance to
Exactly.
be educated and
And the elections office has to be prepared for
Yes.
it too. So,
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for all that you're doing for the
You're welcome.
community, and good luck.
all right, thank you.